Guys, so I'm gonna have another quick video for you today, and this one is based on a sort of practice I've been doing a lot recently, or something that I've kind of brought light to that I do in my life. And it's about how to actually become stoic, how to actually be the guy who's doesn't react emotionally and knows how to think rationally and logically about various scenarios. And I figured out a very simple sort of method to do this, because in the last sort of week I've had points where I've had a really stressful situation to deal with, and I managed to turn that stress in my mind into like pure elation. So I managed to control that emotion and turn it into a completely different emotion, and it's kind of a reflection of how I've lived over the last month. And it all comes down to about dopamine. There's two parts. There's knowing what a certain emotion feels like, and then there's the dopamine aspect to you kind of get that positive attitude towards everything. I'll explain that as we go on. But the first thing I want to talk about is that feeling every emotion. That's why most stoic men are older men, because they've seen it all, they've done it all, they felt the emotions, they know what it's like to feel stress for the first time, to feel anxiety for the first time, to feel depression for the first time, to feel pure elation for the first time. They know exactly what every emotion feels like, and so when it comes up to themselves in their life now, it's not a surprise, and they know exactly how to deal with that, and they can control that emotion easier because they already know what it feels like. It's not a shock. It's not like, bam, I'm anxious, and now you don't know, because you don't know what the feeling is, so you don't know how to then calm the feeling and act in a rational manner. This is why you have to understand that in order to become truly stoic, it's going to take time, and you're going to have to experience many different things in life in order to feel those many different emotions, in order to know how to control those emotions. You don't know how to ride a horse if you've never ridden a horse before. I mean, you can guess, but it's going to be a shock to your system. Most of the time, if you do things for the first time, it's difficult, and although some things you might pick up, other things you might not. Some people can react really well to certain emotions, and they can play with it really well when it happens to them the first time. Other emotions, they're completely useless. So the idea of becoming stoic, you need to be able to feel every emotion, so you know what that emotion feels like in order to better control it. I hope that makes sense. Now, the second part, which is about dopamine. So over the last probably 33 days, because Lent is 40 days, I'm just thinking. I've been doing Lent, which is a Christian tradition, where I choose things to give up. So I've not drank. I think there was one day, it was my dad's birthday weekend, so I drank and stuff on that very one day. So I have to extend my Lent by one more day, which is fine, it's not that hard. So I have no drinking, no nicotine, no porn, and no fizzy juice. I've made an exception for energy drinks, because it's energy drinks, it's for caffeine, for energy, for my rugby and for working. Coffee obviously I use when I can. So that's been almost like a complete dopamine reset. Now, alcohol I would only really drink once a week. Porn would be once a week, if not once every 2 weeks. Nicotine, that was the main issue, was every single day. And cutting off that cold turkey and doing none of that has reset my dopamine to a point where I'm not getting so many dopamine spikes, which means my natural dopamine levels are gradually increasing. There's a great video I watched by Andrew Huberman on his podcast that explains how dopamine works. So if you don't want to take my word for all the science and stuff, you can go listen to him. He's a very intelligent man, all the qualifications and all that good stuff that you might want to see. So he explains how all of these sort of bad habits tend to spike your dopamine more, and what happens is when you've got like a certain baseline, you spike it, and when it comes back down, it's actually lower than what your previous baseline is. So the more you keep doing that, not only are the spikes not as high, but your baseline dopamine kind of gets lower and lower, which is why if you're constantly drinking, smoking, watching porn, eating junk food, that was another thing that I gave up, was junk food for Lent. You're continuously doing these activities, you're getting these spikes, and basically your dopamine's just going like this, and it's just going to end up going down. And in order to let your dopamine be at a baseline level where I feel personally I can better control my emotions when my dopamine's at a good level consistently, and I'm not getting a lot of high spikes and then it's dropping. When my dopamine's at a consistent level, it's much easier to then control my emotions and have the patience and time and rationality to think about how I'm going to deal with certain situations, rather than just, instead of not dealing with a situation, for example, I go and use nicotine or I eat junk food or something to deal with that. Now when my dopamine's in a more normal place, I've got the rationality to think, okay, I need to look at this problem and think of a logical solution and action that, and it makes it so much easier to think. So I hope that makes sense in terms of how you become stoic. It's about feeling emotions, which means you're going to have to go out and live life. You have to go to life, don't let life come to you. Feel these different emotions so you know what they feel like, you can better deal with them. And then when your dopamine levels are at a normal level and they consistently stay there, and you're not constantly spiking it and then it's dropping and it's spiking again, once you get those two things combined, that's when you can be truly stoic and you can truly be rational in all actions and all thoughts that occur, and you can control your emotions to paint the reality that you want. And that's a beautiful discovery I made recently, because the last few weeks it almost feels like I'm just putting the pieces of the puzzle together of my life, and it's working quite nicely. So I hope that was an extremely valuable video for you. Please comment below if it was. I'd love to interact with you guys and make sure. If you've got any questions as well, you can either fire to me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube comments, email me. Everything, all the details will be in the description. So I'll see you guys in the next video.